Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about negation, what it is, how it works, how it's symbolized. The symbol that we use is the tilde. The tilde expresses the truth function. The thing that follows this is not true. The tilde is a little squiggle like you see over N's in certain Spanish words. Now, let me say a piece of vocabulary you're going to hear a lot. I am going to use the word negate to mean say that it is not true. So if someone says the door is open, and I negate that sentence, I'm saying the door is open is false, or the door is not open. There are basically two uses of negation, or the tilde. We use the tilde to negate a single sentence letter. Example, tilde P. We also use the tilde to negate a more complicated statement. For example, tilde, parentheses, A, ampersand, B, close parentheses. Let's go over each of these uses of the tilde. Before I do that, note something about the tilde. It is our only one-place connective. This means that it is only making a statement about one thing, not two things. Remember that ampersands, wedges, conditionals always join together two things. The tilde just negates one thing. So let's look at an example where we negate a simple sentence letter. Here's a statement, Kenji is not at home. Dictionary, K, Kenji is at home. Translation, tilde K. Very clear, very direct. Now let's look at it in terms of possibilities. Remember, it's a connective. Even though it's a one-place connective, it's a connective. That means that it's telling us something about which combinations of sentences could be true or false. It's allowing certain combinations and eliminating others. In this case, though, we're only dealing with one sentence letter, so there's only one sentence. That means there's only two possibilities. Kenji is at home is true, and Kenji is at home is false. And of course, it's eliminating the possibility that Kenji is at home is true. So tilde K eliminates the possibility that K is true and leaves us with one possibility. It's false. Let's try another one. The dog does not need a bath. Here I'm thinking of the wonderful children's book, Behind the Attic Wall. Dictionary, D, the dog needs a bath. Translation, tilde D. Now, if we think in terms of possibilities, it eliminates the possibility the dog needs a bath is true. Now, I said I was thinking of that book. There's a wonderful scene. This little girl's been hearing these sort of magical creatures behind the walls. And one of them says, the dog needs a bath. And she hears her uncle murmur to himself, the dog never needs a bath. And she says, wait a minute, you just said the dog never needs a bath. And he says, what? Nonsense. I would never say the dog never needs a bath. Every time I see a dog, I think, this dog needs a bath. Now, why do I mention that? Well, I want to go back to the issue of what it means for this statement to be true. Okay. So, if we look at this statement and we say, well, is tilde D correct? Okay. If we follow Uncle Morris from the book, we're obviously going to say that tilde D is false. Why? Because what would it mean for it to be correct? For tilde to be correct would mean that the world matches up with one of the possibilities it allows. Right? But of course, the way the world is, every dog always needs a bath. Right? So the only possibility tilde D allows is the dog needs a bath is false. And we know that can't be the case. Right? So we would say that tilde D is false. Right? It eliminates the possibility that the dog needs a bath. And we know it's a dog, it needs a bath. Okay, now, a warning. I gave you a couple simple cases, but you've got to watch out for hidden cases of not, or hidden cases of negation. What do I mean by this? Let me show you an example. Here's a statement. The chairman is unqualified for his job. How do we translate it? Here's a possibility. Dictionary, you, the chairman is unqualified for his job. Translation, you. That works. It's correct. If this were on your writing assignment and you did it this way, I would give you full credit. But there's a problem here. And the problem is that there's a more useful way of translating it. Here's what that is. We make the dictionary Q. The chairman is qualified for his job. And we make the translation tilde Q. So notice qualified and unqualified are opposites. If you're qualified, you're not unqualified. If you're unqualified, you're not qualified. And you might ask, okay, what difference does it make? Well, there's a practical problem you run into if you use the earlier translation, and that is this. Suppose that we're dealing with two sentences. The chairman is unqualified for his job. Either the chairman or the vice chairman is qualified for the chairman's job. And suppose you translate it like this. Dictionary, U, the chairman is unqualified for his job. Q, the chairman is qualified for his job. T, the vice chairman is qualified for the chairman's job. Translation, U, Q wedge T. Well, there's a problem here. And the problem is that it misses what was important about those two statements. And that is the fact that the second statement and one side of the first statement and the one side of the wedge in the second statement are opposites of each other. If I back up a moment, right, or rather, if I go forward, suppose I do this. Q, the chairman is qualified for his job. T, the vice chairman is qualified for the chairman's job. Translation, tilde Q, then Q wedge T. The key point is that both of those sentences say something about the sentence, the chairman is qualified for his job. And that can be very, very important if you're translating an argument. If you're translating an argument, chances are what's going to make it work is these kind of connections and links between the different sentences. That is, between the different premises. If you look carefully, you might be able to figure out that if we had these two sentences as premises, we could get a valid argument with the conclusion T. But that's not going to happen unless we're careful to translate it using the chairman is qualified for his job and then using tilde Q for the chairman is unqualified for his job. So you've got to watch out for that. Now, notice I could also have done this. The chairman is unqualified for his job. T, the vice chairman is qualified for the chairman's job. Translation, U, and then tilde U wedge T. Either of those would be correct. If you had it on a writing assignment, I would give you full credit. I find it easier and clearer to get rid of the negative terms like unqualified. So, as a general suggestion, I encourage people to turn statements with negative terms into statements with positive terms and then use the tilde. It's not wrong if you do it the other way, as long as you're careful that when you have two sentences that are really opposites of each other. That is, two sentences where one's a simple sentence and one's the negation of the simple sentence. As long as those use the same simple sentence, it really doesn't matter whether you state it positively or negatively. I generally think it's easier to turn the negative terms into positives and make that your sentence in the translation. But if you do it the other way, you're still going to get full credit. Now let's go on to negating complex sentences. Sometimes we do not just negate a sentence letter. Sometimes we negate a more complex statement. In those cases, we put the complex statement in parentheses and we put the tilde in front of the first parentheses. Example, it is not the case that the chairman and the vice chairman are both qualified for the chairman's job. So there's the statement. Now I want to point out some special features about this statement. Notice that this is not saying that the chairman is not qualified. And it's not saying that the vice chairman is not qualified. It's only denying that both are qualified. But it's not telling us which one is unqualified. It's leaving open the possibility that the chairman is unqualified. It's leaving open the possibility that the vice chairman is unqualified. It's opening up the possibility that both are unqualified. All we know based on this statement is that it's not the case that they're both qualified. So let's think of that in terms of possibilities. On the right, we have all the basic combinations. This eliminates the first one. It eliminates the possibility that the chairman is qualified as true and the vice chairman is qualified as true. It leaves open the possibility that the chairman is qualified as true and the vice chairman is qualified as false. It leaves open things being flipped around. The chairman is qualified as false and the vice chairman is qualified as true. And it leaves open the possibility that both statements are false. Doesn't tell us which one of these three possibilities is the case. It only eliminates the possibility that both sentences are true. Now note, we do not have a symbol for this. We do not have a symbol that means it's not the case that both of these statements are true. So, what do we do? Well, what we do is this. We say dictionary, Q, the chairman is qualified for his job. T, the vice chairman is qualified for the chairman's job. Same ones we used earlier. Translation, tilde, parentheses, Q, ampersand, T, close parentheses. So we negate the statement Q ampersand T. Now notice something important. Why are we able to do this? It's because of the following. Notice that Q ampersand T and tilde, parentheses, Q ampersand T, close parentheses, are in a sense opposite. Q ampersand T leaves one thing open and eliminates the other three possibilities. Tilde, parentheses, Q ampersand T, close parentheses, eliminates the first possibility and leaves all the others open. So everything that one leaves open, the other eliminates. Everything that one eliminates, the other leaves open. In that sense, you could say they're opposites. And that's why we can represent it is not the case that the chairman is qualified and the vice chairman is qualified as tilde, parentheses, Q ampersand T, close parentheses. So what's the implication here? If we negate a complex sentence, we are basically saying it is one of the possibilities that the original sentence ruled out. It is not any of the possibilities that the original sentence allowed. And we see that visually here. Everything that's crossed out on one side is left open on the other, and vice versa. Now let's look at a real-world example. Statement, it is not the case that George and Martha Washington are dead. Translation, dictionary. G, George Washington is dead. M, Martha Washington is dead. Translation, tilde, parentheses, G ampersand M, close parentheses. Well, that's eliminating that first possibility. It's eliminating the possibility that George Washington is dead is true and Martha Washington is dead is true. Now we ask us, is tilde, parentheses, G ampersand M, close parentheses, correct? Is it true? And the answer is no, it's not true. Why? Because if we look at the real world, George Washington is dead and Martha Washington is dead. Both of those sentences are true, which means that the real world matches up to the one possibility that that statement ruled out, which makes the statement false. So in this case, with this dictionary, tilde, parentheses, G ampersand M, close parentheses, is false. Now let me give you a tip. When you use negation, watch out for the parentheses. The following two sentences are very different. Tilde, parentheses, S, ampersand T, close parentheses. Tilde, S, ampersand T. Those are totally different sentences. Why is that the case? Well, let me give a Scooby-Doo based example. Dictionary, S, we are going to survive. I can hear Shaggy saying that in my head. Or rather, I can hear him saying we're not going to survive. T, we are going to get the treasure. Now, if that is our dictionary, what are the possibilities left open by these? Well, tilde, parentheses, S, ampersand T equals, there is no way that we can both survive and get the treasure. Which, importantly, leaves open the possibility that we can survive. Right? We can survive by forgetting about the treasure. We know we're not going to get the treasure and survive, but we can survive if we just give up on the treasure. Right? Of course, we could also get the treasure and die, or we could fail to get the treasure and die. It leaves those open. But the key point is this leaves open the possibility we can survive. Not the case in the next one. Tilde S ampersand T equals we're all going to die, but we're going to get the treasure. So this is definitely saying both of these things are true. Hey, we're going to get the treasure, but we're going to be dead. So I say that to emphasize it matters whether the parentheses are there. Right? So you have to watch the parentheses when you're negating things. If you wanted to be gloomy and say we're all going to die and get the treasure, don't put parentheses there. But if you want to leave open that possibility of giving up the treasure and surviving, put in the parentheses. Bottom line is this. When we put the tilde in front of a sentence letter, we are saying that the sentence is false. When we put the tilde in front of a parentheses, we are saying that the statement in the parentheses is false. This means that all the things it said were possible are impossible, and all the things that it said were impossible are possible. That's what I have to say about negation. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or come see me in office hours.